Bob Cooney from the Philadelphia Daily News joins us here with a look from Sixers training camp at Stockton University, which it seems like there's been video. There's more probably interest in watching the Sixers practice on these Twitter videos than probably watching the live games last year. But that's because there's a lot of young talent, Bobby, out there, and finally we're seeing a lot of it on the floor at one time. I mean, it's happened. There's an Embiid, Simmons. There's a lot of high draft picks, just like Sam Hinkie envisioned. All these top picks on the floor at once.
Yeah, it's just such a different feel, Mike. It's
Bob, do you hear me?
I can hear you, Mike.
Oh,
can you
there
hear
we
me?
go. Yep, we got you there.
There we
and
go.
One of the questions that a lot of people, is you're getting a chance to see Sam Hinkie's dream right before your very eyes, right? He's got all these high draft choices on the floor at one time, and you're getting to see them kind of go up and down the floor, including one Joel Embiid.
Yeah, it's just such a different feel, Mike. It's an NBA gym, like it's NBA talent, it's NBA size, it's NBA players, playmakers, some shooters, big men galore. I mean, it's a real NBA gym, and quite frankly, something that you haven't seen in 3 years. And you feel it as soon as you walk in there, and you see it when you see point guards who know how to be point guards, and you see playmakers being playmakers, and you see big men dominating the boards. And it's for their gym alone. I'm not saying this is an elite NBA team by any means, but for their gym alone, this is by far the best it's been in the last 3 years.
Okay, let's start with Embiid. The first day he had the flu, but he kind of was a trooper, went out there. He has admitted that he's fatigued there a little bit. But what do you how much and what do you see from him in just a small sample size in the 5-on-5? Do you kind of get a glimpse of, okay, I see what everyone's been talking about?
Yeah, it's hard to say, Mike, because like you said, the first day he had the flu, so he practiced a little bit but didn't scrimmage when we were in there. And then yesterday he did scrimmage for a while we were in there. Now, while we're in there, it's only about 5 minutes on the clock that they're actually scrimmaging. So we saw him yesterday. There's rust. There's no question. There's a lot of rust there. But there's also no question. You look at him and you say, my God, this guy is huge. I mean, one time he went down on the block and just turned on Nerlens Noel. And I'm not kidding. You couldn't see Nerlens Noel anymore. Like, he just, he turned his body into him, and that was it. He was done. Noel was gone. So, there's that. He threw a bad pass. Somebody, he got double teamed. Somebody tried to cut down the lane. He threw a bad pass. Got picked off by, a weak side defender, and he tried to make a spin move that just wasn't there. And, he and I talked about it. There's just going to be rust. It's 2.5 years. It's a body that he's playing with that he's never played with before. You're talking 3 inches taller and 50 pounds heavier. So, he's not even used to the body that he's carrying out there, let alone, having to do it to a game that he hasn't played for 2.5 years. So the biggest thing is you look at him and you think size is just unbelievable. And then when you watch, the anticipated rust is definitely there. So it's going to take a while for him to come around.
Obviously the foot's a big question mark. He has had no setbacks or any issues with that foot as of this point, correct?
No, nothing. Today they held him out. He got in a work. They describe it as he and Okafor and I think it was Gerald Henderson. They all got in workouts, but they didn't scrimmage with the team. And it's nothing that his foot is nothing wrong with his foot or Okafor's knee or anything. They're just being cautious in bringing these guys back, and they'll do it slowly, and they'll do it, to try to avoid other injuries such as pulled hamstrings or something like that. And so they'll be cautious with them. So he and Okafor did not hit the floor today during scrimmage time. So it was basically you were keeping an eye on the likes of Dario Saric and Ben Simmons and stuff.
All right, I want to ask you about Saric because obviously Embiid gets a lot of attention. Simmons was the number one pick, but how do the Sixers plan on using him? What are some of the ways that you anticipate seeing Saric involved with this team? Because he seems like a real wild card.
Yeah, I see him just being he's going to be a tough guy. He's going to be a guy that's going to get you defensive rebounds. He's going to fight. I've said this before in talking to a bunch of people that saw him play live over in Turkey, that he's going to be a Philly favorite because he's got a toughness to him, and he doesn't back down, and he goes after loose balls strong, and wherever he's limited talent-wise, he'll make up for it with real grit and just toughness. So his best attribute is his passing. similar to Ben Simmons, obviously not as athletic. He can get rebounds and just go. He can grab and go and look for the open outlet pass. He can take the ball all the way down himself. Today, towards the end of scrimmage, they drew up a play. It didn't work. He got himself open for a jumper and made the game-winning jumper from about, I think, about like 20 feet or so, and just rose up and hit a nice jump shot. His versatility, Ben Simmons' versatility, those are really neat things for Brett Brown to have, because with the limited talent he had over the last 3 years, he had to coach every single aspect of a game. When you have playmakers that can make things happen that are unscripted, which he has, what it looks like in Simmons and Saric, it just makes the coach's job a lot easier.
Now, Bob, he has kind of admitted as well that the speed and the game's a little different than what he's used to in Europe.
Yeah, he said that again today or yesterday. He says, he must have said to me 3 times, it's so much faster. So, he's a little bit limited in his lateral movement. The trouble is going to be, Brett Brown was talking about playing at 2, 3, and 4. Defensively, him trying to cover 2s and 3s is going to be a little bit tough. So that's where Brett Brown's going to have to figure things out. He had Saric and Simmons on the floor yesterday playing the 1 and the 2, with Simmons at the 1 and Saric at the 2. So, he's just got a hodgepodge of talent that he's kind of just mixing all together and throwing things out there and seeing what sticks and seeing what doesn't. And it's a luxury that I'm sure Brett Brown really enjoys. And that's what training camp is all about, to try to figure out who best fits where and where he can maybe sprinkle some different things in, both offensively and defensively.
Now, Bob, Saric, a lot of people look at him maybe as a natural 4. Now that you've seen him limited, but in person, you just said that they've been running him at the 2. I mean, I've read some 3 stuff. I mean, now that you've seen him, is he more can he handle being more than just a 4? I'm really intrigued about where they, place in on what kind of, combinations or who he's out on the floor with, because, you watch him on TV, it's a lot different than seeing, all right, what kind of athleticism he has in person.
Yeah, it's funny when Brett mentioned the 2 yesterday, I kind of cringed. Like I as the little that I've seen him, I just don't see that right now. I really don't see that right now, and maybe that's a pipe dream for Brett and something that he wants to work on. But I do think he's versatile enough that he could be a 3 or 4. And Saric himself mentioned, I don't mind playing the center position. I could do that, and Brett mentioned that also. If they go small ball, maybe that's the guy that you have at the 5 spot, because he's really a tough guy, and defensively, he will battle. I don't know if he'll win the battles, but he will battle against bigger centers in the league. So he has that versatility, and he's going to be an interesting watch, because I was talking to Sergio Garcia and I were, or Sergio Garcia, I'm going to say that all year. Sergio Rodriguez and I were talking today, and just about the transition over, and he said he's really been talking to Dario about how much different the NBA is. And Sergio said he's going to struggle. There's no question he's going to struggle. So, as excited as fans are for him to be out there playing in the versatility he shows, NBA is a different monster, and it's going to take a little while for him to get used to it.
Bob Cooney, Philadelphia Daily News. Sixers camp at Stockton, kind of focusing a little bit on Dario Saric here, because the other guys get so much attention, but he's the kind of guy who is really, as we mentioned, kind of a wild card here. And then he actually said, Saric himself, he was kind of amazed at Simmons. I mean, he was almost in awe of, I've never played with a guy like this. I mean, I guess it kind of shows how much Simmons is rubbing off on some of these guys, for Saric to say, man, what this guy's doing is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, Saric isn't the only one that says it. Believe me, everybody. You talk to Joel Embiid, and it's like one of the first things these guys bring up is, how can a guy that big be that fast and have such good passing ability? It was really telling today, Mike, and I tweeted this out when we were watching practice. I was standing over with Brett Brown's father and talking to him and watching the end of practice, that when Brett Brown would call plays, and it was, they simulated it to be a close game at the end of it, a close game, end of the game, and Brett would call timeouts and go to each offensive team and draw something up. And it seemed like, whether he drew it up or not, the ball always wound up in Ben Simmons' hand near the basket looking to score. It was either him driving, 2 times post up. One time Brett was saying that they ran a play they were going to run a play another way, but Sergio went over to Brett and said, look, they're doing something on Ben. I think I can hit him another way, and that's what they did, and Simmons got the ball and got a layup. So it was really telling that it was like you're watching and you say, wow, at the end of the game, this team, whatever color they were, white or blue, they're going to their best player all the time, and that best player was Ben Simmons.
Bobby, you had a great piece today on Joel Embiid and his popularity, and that maybe he could even surpass Carson Wentz, who's coming out of the name of President Obama. He's coming out of his mouth and Joe Biden's mouth.
Yeah.
Could Joel Embiid be that big? Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, when you project out these guys, and that's all we can really do, and it's probably not even educated at this point because we just haven't seen them play enough. But, you know, if you let the mind wander the way the fans want to and you see, you know, what could be, if Joel Embiid becomes the type of player that many envision or hope, and Ben Simmons does, you're talking about two guys that are going to just take over this city, similar in the way that Carson Wentz already has. My point also in the story was that Joel Embiid just has such a huge personality. He is just a fun person. He enjoys what he's doing. He gets it. He doesn't take things too seriously. I mean, we're talking to him yesterday, and he brings up trust the process again, and he lost it. He just started laughing uncontrollably because he thought it was so funny that he can work trust the process into every time he talks with us. So he's kind of a goofball, and it's really refreshing. And if he can become a superstar the way people envision and have this personality, I just think the city of Philadelphia is going to be really, really lucky if things pan out with him, with Ben Simmons, with Carson Wentz, and it could be a really fun time for the city for the next many, many years.
Well, that's the funny thing, too, because so Joel Embiid was in your headline, but Ben Simmons also could be as popular, if not more popular, than the other two as well.
Yeah, it's like I wrote in the story. It's funny. I said, if push comes to shove and you had to bet almost, Ben Simmons might have a better career than a Joel Embiid. But if they both have really good careers in the size of Joel Embiid's personality, and then if Simmons becomes, as good of a player as many believe he will be, you're talking about really fun times for this organization for a long time to come. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. And you're still not talking about a Dario Saric. You're still not talking about a Jahlil Okafor. You're still not talking about what could be very high draft picks next year. So things are really looking up for the Sixers, and it's pretty neat to see right now.
So the process is all worth it.
Well, not yet. I wasn't someone who said it was a great thing, and I wasn't someone who said it was a terrible thing. I said the whole time you just got to wait this thing out and see how it plays out. But right now it looks good. They still have holes to fill. You still need some shooters. You got to figure out how you're going to mesh these big men or what you're going to do with them. And there's still a lot of things that have to happen, but there definitely is some serious NBA talent or future NBA talent on that floor right now.
Bob Cooney, Philadelphia Daily News, covering the Sixers. Stockton University, they're there through tomorrow. They open the preseason Tuesday night against the Celtics. Bobby, hey, enjoy Galloway.
We'll do our best. Quick little travel for me from my South Jersey home, so nothing wrong with Stockton University for me.